Okay, I'm gonna go through a few of my faith-based books and devotionals just because some of these were really instrumental in my walk, and I figured if I could recommend a few that helped me, they might be able to help you. So, early on in my walk, I didn't know anything about God being able to speak to us. I didn't know there was a voice of God. I didn't know any of those things. And so I came across this book, Discerning the Voice of God, How to Recognize When God is Speaking by Priscilla Shirer. If you don't know, this is the main character in the movie War Room. She is a Bible teacher, minister, Bible teacher, all the above. She's got many videos on YouTube. Her and her siblings, and of course her father, Tony Evans, they are out here changing the world through their ministry. And so this was very instrumental. This is the first book that I ever purchased that I can remember. First faith-based book, and it was really, really instrumental in the beginning stages of being able to hear from God. Really good book. So it's a really good place to start. The next thing I remember reading was The Weight. I don't have the book. I don't even know where it is now. This is the devotional, but I remember making the decision to wait, and literally like 3 months later or a couple months later, the book came out. And so it was just confirmation. I remember getting it for all my girlfriends. It was like, we need to wait. Really good book. I think I read it in like 2 days. I don't know where it is though, but I got the devotional years later. This came out. I haven't really read the devotional, but it seems like it was like kind of snippets from the book. So really good book. And then after that, let's see. I think Woman After God's Own Heart. So this shifted everything. I literally got this book. I kid you not, I prayed to God for him to soften my heart because I remember being in cells, being like, not necessarily cutthroat, but I really didn't care about people too much. I was just like, didn't care about anybody's feelings. And I don't know if that was just the athlete in me that's like, I don't care if you cry. Like, I really wasn't empathetic. I just didn't really care about people and their feelings. Not that I was mean or rude to anyone. I was just like, kind of just didn't care. My heart was just very hard. So I remember praying the prayer for God to soften my heart. I came across this book and it changed everything. It changed the trajectory of my life, how I thought. At the time when I read this, I thought God was preparing me for motherhood and just marriage in general. But yeah, really good. Really, really good book. Just about who you should be as a woman after God. So good book. After that, there are a few books that I bought years prior to even opening them up, like Instinct. So Instinct, I remember there being a Christian book sale at this bookstore. Christian book sale. There was a going out of business sale at a Christian bookstore, and they had so many books for sale. And I remember buying this. This is years ago, and I ended up being led to it last year, and it was everything I needed in the moment. It was very good, very, very good. And it's just interesting how God will send you something before you even know you need it. Oh, Battlefield of the Mind. So I don't know where the book is, but I'll just leave that there. Battlefield of the Mind. I got the study guide because that's how good the book was. I don't know where it is, but really good. Joyce Meyer and her teaching on spiritual warfare is really good. Just a good reminder that the battle is literally spiritual. Like, we can't forget this, guys, that the battle is literally spiritual. Don't fight against flesh or blood. We don't fight against flesh and blood. It's all spiritual. I also got this devotional. Really good. But the book is even better. Believe. This is the first devotional that I ever bought. I think I read it every day for 2 years straight before I bought these other ones. Joyce Meyer, she's got a million devotionals. You can't really go wrong with those. Of course, you got my first book, Surrender. Not my will, but yours be done. This is about my faith journey when I was a new believer. Just having so many questions about why the church was asking for money, why we had to turn to our neighbor, why we had to fast, why did we have to wait till marriage, why. I had so many questions, and this book gives you the revelations that I received once I surrendered to God. It's so good. Really good book. Especially if you're a new believer and don't even know where to start on your Christian journey. Wholeness. So Wholeness, really good book. Actually, let's see. Finish this. Oh shoot, I think I got a couple pages left, but the one thing I remember from Wholeness that I never forget, that I always remind myself, is to think the highest thought. He talks about thinking the highest thought. Like, anytime you're offended by someone, anytime someone hurts your feelings, is to think the highest thought of them. Think it's better to think that they didn't mean any harm than to think that they hurt you on purpose and it wasn't the case at all. So always think the highest thought. That's the one thing I took from this. Relationship goals. Very good sermon series. I was so excited when this book came out. I was going to do a book club and nobody signed up. So didn't do the book club. Didn't finish the book yet, but I will. The Shift. I remember Pastor Keon Henderson coming to Vegas years and years ago to the church that I went to at the time. And fast forward a few years, I see him on YouTube, and I'm like, oh wow, I remember him. And I saw him sitting down with Bishop T.D. Jakes. His story is just incredible. How his dad was a pastor and didn't acknowledge him as his son. He has an amazing story. I remember when this book came out during the pandemic, right when the pandemic hit, I was going through a shift, bought it, started it, didn't finish, but definitely will return to eventually. God, I listened. So one day I was driving through Beverly Hills while I was living in LA, and something told me to Google Black woman Beverly Hills real estate. And Eula McClaney came up. Her story came up, and I saw that she also wrote a book. I was trying to buy the book. It was nowhere to be found. Fast forward a few months later, something told me to search again. Well, her daughter came out with a book last summer. And because she came out with a book, they were able to put her book back in print. And when I tell you, her story was just so motivational and inspirational, and someone who went from picking cotton in Alabama to growing a real estate empire as a Black woman in the 70s in LA. Amazing story. The Battles Belong to the Lord. Another one of those where I bought years ago. I bought it at the Joyce Meyer conference years ago. Picked it back up. Felt led to read this year. Amazing book. Easy read only because the chapters are literally 3 to 4 pages. I should have read it in a week. Or I'm sorry, in a day. Really, a couple days. It took me 3 months to read this. That's how much resistance and spiritual warfare I felt in reading this book. That's how good it is. Again, the battle is spiritual. Crushing. Haven't read it yet. I felt like I was being crushed, which is why I bought it. Will eventually read. Hannah's Anointing. I felt led to read this a couple months ago. I read it in a couple days. Michelle McLean Walters is really good author. She breaks down these anointings very well. She's got an Esther's anointing, or I think a Ruth's anointing, a Deborah's anointing. Very good book. Becoming a Woman of Resilience, Fulfillment, and Fruitfulness. I swear. Resilient. Whew, Jesus, I needed that book. Let's see, the discipleship books that I read on the daily for my daily Bible study. But yeah, you can't go wrong with any of the devotionals from Joyce Meyer. Got a couple more books I haven't read yet, but hopefully I have inspired you to pick up something. If not any of these, just go to your neighborhood Christian bookstore and see what they got. See what speaks to you.